Christmas dinner smelled like turkey and betrayal. A very underrated seasoning, if you ask me. My son, Michael, stood up, glass in hand, his voice cutting through the silence like he thought he was auditioning for King Lear. "Dad," he announced, with the gravity of a man revealing state secrets. "You are no longer a member of this family. Get out of this house." Well, Merry Christmas to me. The guests froze mid-chew, as if turkey had suddenly become a Class A drug. Emily, his wife, wore the kind of smug smile you'd normally reserve for getting the last parking space at Tesco. I smiled back, not warmly. Mind you, more than that, "Oh, you have no idea what's coming your way," and handed Michael a folder. "A parting gift for you, son." He opened it, screamed, and suddenly everyone was staring at me like I'd just released a pack of feral badgers into the dining room. They didn't realize this was only the beginning. They thought they'd destroyed me. Oh, bless them. They were wrong. Before we continue, do subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Preferably somewhere less tragic than my dining room. Anyway, back to the chaos. The dining room reeked of roasted potatoes and resentment. The old oak table bore fresh scratches. Though to be fair, decades of family dinners had already done a number on it. Plates sat untouched, coffee had gone cold in chipped mugs. The scene of our latest battlefield. Michael, red-faced and gesturing like a discount orchestra conductor, was clearly in his element. Emily sat opposite me, arms folded, her manicured nails tapping out a rhythm that screamed, "I run this show." I gripped my fork, cold metal, grounding me, as her words sliced through the air. "Dad, we need the money," Michael snapped, sharp enough to rattle the glasses. "This house is falling apart. You can't keep hoarding cash while we're stuck here." Yes, hoarding cash, otherwise known as paying bills, and keeping the lights on. Revolutionary concept. I raised an eyebrow, tone calm, because somebody had to be. Hoarding? "I paid the mortgage on this place before you were born, Michael. What's this really about?" Emily leaned forward, her smile thinner than cheap toilet paper. "It's about progress, Henry. We want to modernize. New floors. New furniture. You wouldn't understand. Of course. Progress. The eternal justification for spending money you don't have on things you don't need to impress people you don't like." Her phone, perched against her wine glass, flashed a photo of a leather sofa that probably cost more than my old truck. Michael tossed the contractor's estimate onto the table like it was a royal decree. I didn't need to read it. The numbers alone were enough to trigger an aneurysm. "You got savings, Dad," he pressed. "What's the point of sitting on it? You're not getting any younger." Ah, there it is. The inevitable jab at age. Classic tactic. Insult the man holding the purse strings. Bold but stupid. I kept my gaze fixed on the table, tracing the familiar scratch from when 10-year-old Michael carved his initials with a butter knife, back when he still looked at me like I was a hero instead of an ATM with legs. "I've given you enough," I said quietly. "You live here rent-free. That's more than most get." Emily scoffed, her laugh like a knife wrapped in silk. "Rent-free? This place is a museum. Henry, we're doing you a favor by staying." A favor? Like rats doing a favor by infesting your attic. Michael slammed his spoon down, the clatter echoing. "You're so damn selfish. You think you're some saint, but you're just holding us back." The silence that followed was suffocating. I tightened my grip on the fork, knuckles white. Not the first time he'd raised his voice, but this one felt final. Emily's eyes glittered with triumph, like she'd been waiting for this very moment, rehearsing in the mirror, probably with a glass of Chardonnay in hand. I could have shouted back, listed every overtime shift, every sacrifice, every car I sold, every damn bill I paid. But what was the point? Words had stopped reaching them a long time ago. Selfish. I repeated, letting it hang in the air like smoke. "That's what you think." "You're damn right," Michael snarled. "You're not needed here anymore, Dad. We can handle this place without you." Yes, because nothing says independent adult like begging your father for money while insulting him to his face. The air turned heavy. Emily smirked. I set the fork down, stood up, My chair scraped the floor with the finality of a guillotine. "I see," I said, voice steady despite the fire in my chest. "You've made yourselves clear." Boots heavy, I walked toward the hallway. "What? That's it? You're just going to sulk?" Michael jeered behind me. I didn't answer. The dining room door loomed. Chipped paint. Faded memories. I turned the knob, one thought burning through me. I gave you everything. My time. My dreams. My home. And this is what I get? No more. The door clicked shut. Their voices muffled. I stood in the hallway, heart pounding. They thought they could break me. Oh no, they had no idea. My bedroom was a time capsule. Creaky wooden bed, dust on the photo frames, Elizabeth's smile frozen forever. I sat, the mattress sagging beneath me like it, too, had given up. The lamp cast a lonely glow, catching the dust on a photo of Michael at 6, grinning wide, gap-toothed, when he still needed me. My fingers brushed the glass, trembling. How did we get here? The house was silent now. That dangerous kind of silence that amplifies every thought until you start arguing with yourself. I opened the drawer, pulled out an old leather photo album, flipped through it. Memories I should have burned long ago. Michael at 16, clutching a football, eyes full of dreams I bankrolled. I sold my Chevy for his college applications. Told Elizabeth it was just a car. She squeezed my hand, her smile saying she knew better. Graduation day, me working double shifts, back breaking, bank account bleeding. He'd hug me, cap askew, promising to make me proud. Spoiler, he didn't. Elizabeth's cancer stole her 3 years ago. Michael drifted further away. And then Emily came along, ambition sharper than her manicure, and latched on like a tick. I turned another page. A receipt, yellow with age. Tuition, $12,000. 2005, all my savings gone. At the time, I told myself it was an investment in the future, in my legacy, in him. Instead, he brought home Emily. Michael's financial genius extended, apparently, to paying for a gym membership he never used. Classic. At this point, their wealth-building strategy looked less like sound investment and more like a child stacking Jenga blocks with sticky fingers. And me? I was ready to pull the first one and watch it all topple. My fingers froze on a bank notice stamped overdue in cheery red ink. 2 missed mortgage payments. On the condo they bought last year. The very one Michael had bragged about at dinner, swearing it would make them rich. Emily, of course, had nodded along while scrolling through photos of luxury lofts she'd never afford, eyes sparkling like she just discovered she could rent Versace handbags by the week. Now the bank wanted to foreclose. Oh, tragedy. The universe does have a sense of humor. I scribbled the account number in my notebook, the sound of the pen scratching in the silence almost comforting, like progress. And then memory struck. Emily at last week's dinner, calling my carpet tacky, with the same disdain you'd reserve for bin juice, waving her fork like she was a queen of taste while Michael laughed, agreeing, as though their combined bank account could even cover the cost of replacing the doormat. That carpet had been Elizabeth's choice. Hours of debates, swatches, and her little victory smile when she'd won. And now these two wanted to rip it out, erase her, erase me. Modern elegance. They'd call it. Utter bollocks. I'd call it. A creak from a hallway snapped me back. My heart thudded as I killed the flashlight, plunging the kitchen into darkness. The house groaned. Old bones like mine. Could have been the pipes. Could have been trouble. I pressed myself against the counter, holding my breath. Nothing. Just the hum of the fridge. The tick of the living room clock. Probably upstairs, dreaming of leather sectionals and spa days, blissfully unaware that their trap was already sprung. I flicked the light back on. More receipts. More evidence of their middle-class delusions. A wine club subscription. A spa package. Emily really did think she was royalty, only without the assets, the crown, or the dignity. Every line was a thread in the web, and I was a spider, patiently mapping. My old engineering days had taught me one thing. Find a weak point, apply pressure, watch the collapse. Notebook heavier with each note. Dates, amounts, account numbers. I tucked the bank notice into my pocket. careful not to crinkle it. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was control. Showing them I wasn't a dusty relic. They thought I was. I built this house, this life. They wanted to snatch it from me? Big mistake. Another creak. Closer this time. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Descending. Michael. Notebook snapped shut. Papers shoved back into their careless pile. Flashlight off. Boots soft on the tile. My hand brushed the cool wood of the doorframe as I slipped into the hallway. Dad! Michael's voice groggy, suspicious, dripping with a sort of faux authority only a man still living rent-free can muster. I didn't answer. My pulse steady. My mind sharp. They'd handed me the weapon themselves, in paper, ink, and unpaid bills. All I had to do was use it. The hinges didn't even squeak. Years of my maintenance. Years they never noticed. I slipped past, melting into shadows a house I knew better than they ever would. The lawyer's office was the polar opposite of home. Glass walls, gray carpets, the smell of ink and expensive coffee. Basically soulless modern success bottled into a workplace. I sat across from John, my old coat draped over the chair, folder of notes in front of me. The Chicago skyline glared at us through the window, all steel and shine, while John, crisp suit, sharp pen, clicked his way through my scribbled figures. You're sure about this, Henry? His voice low, his eyes narrowing. It's a bold move. I'm sure, I said. Steady. They crossed the line. I'm taking back what's mine. He leaned back, tapping his pen against his chin like some courtroom metronome. All right, let's start with the will. You want Michael out completely? Completely? The word felt like dropping a brick on my own chest. For a second, guilt twisted. He was still my son. Once, he clung to my hand at the fair, sticky with candy floss, begging for one more ride. But that boy was long gone, replaced by a man who'd spat in my face. I pushed the thought away and focused on the papers John slid forward. The first, a revised will, everything to charity. The house, the savings, every last penny. Michael and Emily wouldn't see so much as a rusty teaspoon. I read every clause carefully. Contract habits die hard, and then signed. Pen scratching like a small, quiet victory. The second, a bank form, freezing the joint account Michael still used. Leftover from when I'd helped him buy his first car. He'd never bothered to close it. Laziness, finally useful. John watched, expression unreadable. You're cutting deep, Henry. They'll feel this. They should have thought that before. I said, calm, steel under the words. I pulled out my phone, rang the bank. A quick conversation, a couple of codes. Done. Account locked. Michael wouldn't know until he tried to swipe his card for some overpriced nonsense. I could already picture the panic. Oh no. Emily, how will we afford your 4th spa day of the month? Next, the house. John suggested a trust. They can't force a sale if you're the sole trustee, he explained. This gives you solid ground if they try to push you out. I nodded, signed. My house, my last bastion. Every nail, every shingle, my sweat in its bones. No way in hell they'd turn it into an ATM. The pen felt like a hammer. Every stroke sealing their fate. John stacked the papers. You all right, Henry? This isn't easy. No, I said, jaw tight. But it's necessary. They made their choice. He didn't push. We shook hands. Folder under my arm, its weight grounding me. My phone buzzed. Michael. Missed call. My pulse quickened, but I didn't answer. Let him sweat. He already felt the ground shift, even if he didn't know why. The office door clicked shut behind me. The city stretched ahead, steel and cold sun. And me? I was done being their foundation. Now I was the earthquake. The wind cut to my coat like it had a personal vendetta, snowflakes settling on my shoulders before giving up and melting into the wool. Romantic. If you ignore the fact I was clutching a folder of legal paperwork like it was Excalibur. Michael's missed calls buzzed in my pocket, but I let the phone hum itself into exhaustion. Let him stew. Let him panic. I had work to do. And besides, revenge pairs terribly with customer service. Through the crack of the kitchen door, I could see them. The living room bathed in the flicker of some reality show. The soundtrack of civilization's collapse. Michael was pacing like a caged zoo animal, his phone clutched as if oxygen ran through the SIM card. Emily, naturally, was draped across the leather sofa, like a queen awaiting tribute. Her calm was infuriating, her smugness practically radiating into the room. And me? I was in the shadows. Phone recording. Eyes open. Ears sharp. The invisible ghost of my own house. You see this? Michael's voice cracked, thrusting his phone at Emily. The account's frozen. I tried to pay the car loan. It bounced. Music to my ears. The sound of a man realizing daddy's safety net was not, in fact, permanent. Emily raised a perfectly plucked eyebrow. Calm down, Michael. It's probably a glitch. Call the bank. I did, he snapped, tossing a magazine on the floor like a toddler denied a biscuit. Pages scattered across the rug. They said it's locked by the primary holder. That's Dad. He did this. I nearly applauded from the shadows. Almost. But no, I let him sweat. Emily leaned back, nails tapping against the sofa, like she was orchestrating a symphony of betrayal. Your father? Why would he bother? Michael practically foamed. Because he's spiteful. He's been sulking since we asked for repair money. He thinks he owns us. Newsflash, son. I do. Emily's lips curled into a smile so slow and calculating it deserved its own theme tune. Then maybe it's time he leaves. This house is too big for him, anyway. We could sell it. Move somewhere better. Somewhere modern. Sell my house. The house Elizabeth and I built. The walls still carrying her laughter, her warmth. The one place that was mine. Sell it. Like it was a second-hand coffee table on Gumtree. I forced my breath steady, the phone still recording, every word evidence, every syllable a nail in their coffin. Michael faltered, hand dragging through his hair. You think we can just kick him out? Yes. Emily's voice was honey wrapped around steel. He's old, vulnerable. We'll say it's for his own good. Find him a nice little apartment. Cheap. The house stays with us. It's only fair. Fair. Oh, that word. A word only ever used by people who want to take your last slice of cake, while insisting it's for equality. Michael wavered. He won't go quietly. You know how stubborn he is. Then we make him. Emily snapped, the mask slipping. We'll talk to a lawyer. He can't stay here forever, dragging us down. And that was it. The comedy finale. Me, apparently dragging them down, while they bled me dry for spa days and wine subscriptions. I eased back, boots silent. Recordings saved. Their voices sealed in digital amber. They thought they were plotting a coup. In reality, they'd just written their own suicide note, complete with timestamps. Later, I stood outside under the porch light, snow gathering on my shoulders again, like the weather was mocking me with festive cheer. My front door gleamed with a brand new lock. My key, the one I'd worn smooth over decades, slid and scraped refused. They'd changed it. My house, my fortress, my last link to Elizabeth, turned into a stranger's property overnight. I tried again. Useless. The brass mocked me, glinting smugly. Michael and Emily moved faster than I expected, which was impressive, given their usual pace of life resembled a hungover snail. The living room curtains were drawn tight, but I knew they were in there, probably sipping wine I paid for, congratulating themselves on how thoroughly they'd shafted me. Earlier that day, I'd overheard the real kicker, a cousin's voicemail letting slip they'd hired a lawyer, telling relatives I was unstable, senile, unfit, a declaration of war wrapped in polite concern. How thoughtful. I circled the house, boots crunching through the snow. The side door locked with a shiny new deadbolt. My fingers brushed the frame, remembering the summer Elizabeth and I painted it. Her laughter, the smell of paint, the warmth of the sun. That memory stabbed, but sentiment wouldn't get me through a deadbolt. Inside, I could almost hear them rehearsing their lies. Emily, calm, clinical. It's for his own good, really. He can't live alone anymore. Michael, blustering. Yeah, he's stubborn. He needs help. Help. From them. That thought alone could kill me faster than the cold. Jaw tight, I pulled out my phone. Tom's number blinked at the top of my recent calls. I dialed, voice low as I leaned against the garage wall. "They've changed the locks," I said when he picked up, "and they're telling everyone I'm crazy." Tom's laugh crackled through the receiver. Rough, unamused, the kind of laugh that says, "Oh, mate, they've picked the wrong bloody pensioner." A bold move for a couple of amateurs. Honestly, if I weren't the target of their idiocy, I might have admired the effort. "You got a plan?" Tom asked down the line. "Working on it," I muttered, eyes fixed on my own house. My house. The one they thought they'd conquered. They're digging their own grave. I just need to give them a little shove. "Don't let them rattle you," he warned. "They're scared. That's why they're pulling this stunt." Scared or stupid, same difference. Either way, they'd cross a line, and I wasn't the sort of man who politely stepped back over it. I hung up, pocketed the phone, and trudged through the snow. A buzz in my pocket. Text from Linda. "Henry, what's going on? Michael says you're not well. Call me." Ah, marvelous. They'd upgraded from ruining my finances to assassinating my reputation. Next stop, claiming I was secretly Jack the Ripper. I stared at Linda's message. My thumb hovered over the screen. But no, I wasn't going to play whack-a-mole with their lies. Let them run their little smear campaign. It wasn't despair that hit me. It was petrol on the fire. They thought they'd isolate me. They thought they could turn my family against me. Sweet, naive children. The street was quiet. Christmas lights twinkling smugly on neighboring houses. All joy and festive cheer. My house, meanwhile, was colder than a tax inspector's smile. They thought they'd box me out. But I'd built that house, brick by brick, beam by beam, and I knew every shortcut, every weak point, every crack. They might have changed the locks, but I was the architect of the battlefield. And I never lose on home turf. The cafe smelled of burnt coffee and regret. A place where dreams came to die under fluorescent lighting. I sat by the window, clutching a chipped mug of something that claimed to be coffee. Across from me sat Sarah, Elizabeth's old friend. Red scarf, nervous hands, eyes darting like she was about to sell me state secrets. "Henry," she whispered, leaning in, "I heard something. You need to know." "Oh, good. Gossip. My favorite currency. Michael and Emily, they're planning a big Christmas dinner. Invited the whole family. Linda, your cousins, everyone, and they're going to make an announcement." I sipped the coffee, bitter, watery, punishment in liquid form, and kept my face neutral. "What kind of announcement?" She hesitated, spoon clinking her cup. "They're saying you're unfit, that you've lost control of the house. Your finances. They want to declare you incompetent. Maybe even push for guardianship. They're using Christmas dinner to, well, get everyone on their side. Of course, the piece de resistance. A good old-fashioned public humiliation, wrapped up with fairy lights and turkey. How festive. I could picture it now. Michael raising a glass. Emily nodding like the cat who got the cream. The family gasping into their Brussels sprouts. A Yuletide coup. "How'd you hear this?" I asked, my voice calm, the sort of calm that usually precedes explosions. "Linda mentioned it," Sarah said, eyes flicking about nervously. "She's worried, but Michael's got her half convinced you're not yourself. And Emily's been calling people saying you're a danger to yourself. It's awful, Henry." Awful didn't even begin to cover it. I nodded, pulled out my phone and opened the Notes app. Christmas dinner. Family announcement. Guardianship. Each word typed out like ammunition. They thought they'd ambush me. Use tinsel and turkey as cover for betrayal. Bless them. They'd just given me a stage. "You're not surprised, are you?" Sarah asked, studying me. "I'm not," I said, slipping the phone back into my pocket. They've been building to this. I just didn't expect them to play quite so dirty. She reached across the table, hand hovering near mine like I might shatter into dust. "What are you going to do? You can't let them get away with this." I met her gaze. Jaw tight, heart steady. "I won't. They're counting on me to crumble. They'll get a surprise instead." Her eyes softened. She knew better than to press. I stood, tossed a few coins on the table, and pulled on my coat. The cafe bell jingled as I left, the cold night air biting at my face. Another text from Linda buzzed in my pocket. Probably more questions I wouldn't answer. Let them stew. My mind was racing faster than Michael in a showroom with bad credit. Christmas dinner was their trap, but it could just as easily be mine. They wanted a spectacle? Fine, I'd give them one. Just not the flavor they expected. John's office was all glass, steel, and a faint smell of corporate despair. I sat across from him, folders spread across the polished table like a battle plan. He adjusted his glasses, scanning the papers. Eviction notices, court orders, account freezes, each one a perfectly engineered middle finger. "This is ironclad, Henry," he said finally, his clipped tone almost approving. "The eviction notice is legal, backed by the trust you set up. They got 30 days to vacate once it's served. The account freeze is immediate. You got them cornered." I nodded and signed. The pen was heavy in my hand like a gavel, every stroke a verdict. "Any evidence?" I asked, tapping the folder. Inside, recordings, bank statements, even screenshot of Emily's late-night smear campaigns. Enough proof to bury them under paperwork until kingdom come. "More than enough," John said, sliding the folder into his briefcase. "If they try to fight, this will destroy them in court." Good. I wasn't just going to win. I was going to salt the earth behind me. Homework. That's what it felt like. Not the fun kind with coloring pencils either. The soul-crushing type you used to slog through while your teacher reminded you that it builds character. Well, apparently betrayal builds character too, because here I was again, scribbling plans like some middle-aged delinquent doing lines in detention. Blueprints I understood. Steel wood maths. That was manageable. But dismantling Michael and Emily's empire of lies? That was personal. The kind of assignment you don't hand in for a grade. You hand in with a smirk and a "good luck explaining this" sunshine. The thought of Michael, one small enough to fit in my arms, now plotting to rob me blind, was almost poetic. Almost. Mostly it was pathetic. Next stop, the bank. A sterile little box in the middle of the mall, decorated with posters that promised a brighter financial future. Which was hilarious, considering my son was about to experience the exact opposite. The young banker, hair too gelled, tie slightly crooked, fingers typing like he was trying to break the keyboard. Finished tapping my instructions. "All set, Mr. Wilson," he said, with the enthusiasm of a man who definitely wasn't trained to handle bitter family warfare. "Good lad," I said, tucking the confirmation slip into my folder. Translation. No more handbags for Emily. No more get-rich-quick loans from Michael. Their little shopping sprees were officially canceled. Merry Christmas. Back in John's office, we tied the bow on this festive masterpiece, a letter to be served at Christmas dinner. Eviction notice included. I slipped it into a plain envelope, slid it into my briefcase, and sat back. The whole thing felt less like a legal maneuver and more like wrapping a gift nobody wanted but absolutely deserved. "Ready, Henry?" John said, offering his hand. "Ready?" I replied, shaking it firmly. They never saw me coming, which is rich, given I move at the speed of an arthritic tortoise these days. Outside, the bank doors swung shut, and suddenly I was back in the chaos of holiday shoppers. Arms full of gift bags, lights twinkling, carols playing overhead. The whole mall looked like Christmas had vomited across it. Elizabeth loved this time of year. She'd hang lights on our porch every December. For a second, the memory softened me. Then I remembered Michael, and it was gone. Funny how fast tenderness evaporates when your offspring morphs into a backstabbing estate thief. Snow crunched under my boots as I crossed the car park. Briefcase heavy in my hand, heart strangely light. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve, their grand little stage. They wanted humiliation. I'd give them theater. Only this time, the hero doesn't die at the end. The dining room glowed with candlelight, the air thick with roasted turkey, pine, and lies. Elizabeth's china gleamed on the table. Each played a ghost of better days. Family filled the chairs. Linda, cousins, neighbors. Faces caught somewhere between curiosity and dread. A support group for the world's most awkward Christmas. Michael stood at the head of the table, wine glass in hand. Smile polished to within an inch of its life. A brand new watch gleamed on his wrist. Presumably bought on credit, since his accounts were now colder than the turkey leftovers. Emily sat beside him. Posture perfect, grin sharp enough to slice meat. I sat opposite, folder tucked discreetly beneath my chair, like a magician waiting for the grand reveal. Michael cleared his throat. The room hushed. "Thank you all for coming," he began, voice loud, rehearsed, probably practiced in the bathroom mirror. "This Christmas is special. It's about family, about moving forward. But there's something we need to address." Oh, here it comes. My face calm, my pulse a drumbeat. The folder under my chair felt heavier than a guillotine. Michael's gaze flicked to me, full of disdain. "Dad, we've talked about this. You're not well. This house, this life, it's too much for you. We voted as a family. You're no longer part of it. It's time for you to leave." Gasps rippled round the room. Linda's hand shot to her mouth. Tom frowned, as if wondering whether he'd stumbled into a pantomime. Emily's smile spread wider, smug and venomous. The whispers began, eyes darting between me and Michael. They were waiting for me to crumble, to break, to confirm the rumors. Instead, I stood, slowly, deliberately. My chair scraped across the hardwood, like a warning shot. "Is that so, Michael?" I said, my voice soft, almost amused. "You decided I'm done?" "Yes," he said, smirk plastered on like bad wallpaper. "It's for your own good. Dad, you'll thank us later." "Ah, yes," the classic villain line. Right before everything goes spectacularly wrong, I reached under my chair, pulled out the folder, a plain, unassuming cover, which is fitting, because ordinary folders usually contain doom, don't they? "A parting gift," I said, my tone almost light. "Almost. Open it." Michael hesitated. Smirk faltered. He took it, fingers brushing the paper like it might bite. The room fell silent. Candles flickered. Everyone leaned forward. He flipped it open. His eyes landed on the first page. An eviction notice. Bold. Unyielding. His name on it in black and white. "Merry Bloody Christmas." The folder was addressed to Michael and Emily, but honestly, it may as well have been addressed to the Greedy Idiots Club, Care My Dining Room. Michael's breath caught as he flicked through the pages, his hand trembling like a man who's just realized the cash machine isn't spitting out 20s anymore. Court order freezing their accounts. Debt summaries. Transcripts of their little Bond villain plotting sessions. Christmas really had come early. "What is this?" he shouted, voice cracking like a teenage choir boy. The folder slipped, scattering papers across the table, one landing squarely next to the turkey platter. "Well, at least someone brought stuffing to the party." "You can't do this," he gasped. "I already have." I said, calm as anything. "You thought you could take my house, my life, slap your names on it, and call it yours? Read the rest. It's all there. Your debts, your plans, your actual words. Top marks for stupidity, by the way." Emily snatched the paper. Her face drained faster than a bottle of wine at a family reunion. "This is a lie," she snapped, except her voice wobbled, like she just realized the lie was wearing her dress and shoes. The guests leaned in, whispers swelling, like vultures circling, except in better cardigans. Linda grabbed a page, her eyes widening at the screenshots of Emily's texts and the bank notices. She turned on Michael, voice sharp as broken glass. "Michael, is this true? You tried to sell his house?" Michael stammered, his wine glass clattering down and spilling across the tablecloth. "Ah, yes. Nothing says family dignity like a Merlot massacre on your mother's best linen. It's not what it looks like," he yelped, which, of course, is what everyone says right before it turns out to be exactly what it looks like. I stepped back, let the storm rage. The folder had done its job. Watching them flail was better than television. Emily's eyes darted around the table, searching for allies. Spoiler, there were none. Michael was crimson now, shaking as he scrambled to gather the papers like a child trying to pick up dropped sweet wrappers before anyone notices. Linda yanked the papers away, face twisted with disgust. Enough, Michael. You've shamed this family. Finally, some common sense. Took long enough. Michael's head snapped up, eyes wild. Dad, please, tell him it's a mistake. We didn't mean it like that. I met his gaze, unblinking. You meant every word. I've got the receipts. Literally. Emily's nails dug into a napkin, her voice dropping to a hiss. Henry, we're sorry. We'll fix this. Just don't do this. Fix this? I almost laughed. You had years to fix this. You chose greed. Congratulations, it's all yours. The guests were already on the move. Some grabbing coats, others muttering about disgrace. Tom threw a paperback onto the table, like it was contaminated. Linda paused on her way out, eyes soft with pity. I should have known better, Henry. I'm sorry. I nodded, said nothing. Sorries don't rebuild trust. Or China, for that matter. Michael's shoulders shook, his voice rising to a pathetic plea. Dad, you can't throw us out. This is our home, too. No, I said, voice flat. Final. It's mine. Always was. I turned, walked toward the living room, the noise of the imploding dinner fading behind me. Emily's voice cracked, calling after me. But I didn't stop. The dining room door swung shut. Blessed silence. I stood in the dark, Christmas lights glowing through the window, patterns soft on the floor. The family photos watched from a wall. Elizabeth's smile in one of them caught me. The only light in the room that didn't flicker. And for the first time all evening, I actually breathed. The folder was addressed to Michael and Emily. But honestly, it may as well have been addressed to the Greedy Idiots Club, Care My Dining Room. Michael's breath caught as he flicked through the pages, his hand trembling like a man who's just realized the cash machine isn't spitting out 20s anymore. Court order freezing their accounts. Debt summaries. Transcripts of their little Bond villain plotting sessions. Christmas really had come early. What is this? He shouted, voice cracking like a teenage choir boy. The folder slipped, scattering papers across the table, one landing squarely next to the turkey platter. Well, at least someone brought stuff into the party. You can't do this, he gasped. I already have. I said, calm as anything. You thought you could take my house, my life, slap your names on it, and call it yours? Read the rest. It's all there. Your debts. Your plans. Your actual words. Top marks for stupidity, by the way. Emily snatched the paper. Her face drained faster than a bottle of wine at a family reunion. This is a lie, she snapped, except her voice wobbled, like she just realized the lie was wearing her dress and shoes. The guests leaned in, whispers swelling, like vultures circling, except in better cardigans. Linda grabbed a page, her eyes widening at the screenshots of Emily's texts and the bank notices. She turned on Michael, voice sharp as broken glass. Michael, is this true? You tried to sell his house? Michael stammered, his wine glass clattering down and spilling across the tablecloth. Ah, yes. Nothing says family dignity like a Merlot massacre on your mother's best linen. It's not what it looks like, he yelped, which, of course, is what everyone says right before it turns out to be exactly what it looks like. I stepped back, let the storm rage. The folder had done its job. Watching them flail was better than television. Emily's eyes darted around the table, searching for allies. Spoiler, there were none. Michael was crimson now, shaking as he scrambled to gather the papers like a child trying to pick up dropped sweet wrappers before anyone notices. Linda yanked the papers away, face twisted with disgust. Enough, Michael. You've shamed this family. Finally, some common sense. Took long enough. Michael's head snapped up, eyes wild. Dad, please, tell him it's a mistake. We didn't mean it like that. I met his gaze, unblinking. You meant every word. I've got the receipts. Literally. Emily's nails dug into a napkin, her voice dropping to a hiss. Henry, we're sorry. We'll fix this. Just don't do this. Fix this? I almost laughed. You had years to fix this. You chose greed. Congratulations, it's all yours. The guests were already on the move. Some grabbing coats, others muttering about disgrace. Tom threw a paperback onto the table, like it was contaminated. Linda paused on her way out, eyes soft with pity. I should have known better, Henry. I'm sorry. I nodded, said nothing. Sorries don't rebuild trust. Or China, for that matter. Michael's shoulders shook, his voice rising to a pathetic plea. Dad, you can't throw us out. This is our home, too. No, I said, voice flat. Final. It's mine. Always was. I turned, walked toward the living room, the noise of the imploding dinner fading behind me. Emily's voice cracked, calling after me. But I didn't stop. The dining room door swung shut. Blessed silence. I stood in the dark, Christmas lights glowing through the window, patterns soft on the floor. The family photos watched from a wall. Elizabeth's smile in one of them caught me. The only light in the room that didn't flicker. And for the first time all evening, I actually breathed. The house emptied with the kind of silence you only get after a bomb goes off. Car doors slammed, engines started, and one by one the guests scarpered, clutching their coats and dignity. The great Christmas dinner debacle of the Wilson family was officially over. Michael and Emily were still inside somewhere, begging, bargaining, sobbing into napkins, but frankly, they could have been juggling chainsaws for all I cared. Their trap had snapped shut, and for once, it wasn't around my ankle. The front door creaked open, then slammed shut. Final, like punctuation. I didn't look back. They'd made their bed. Shame it was full of nails. My new apartment was, let's be polite and call it cozy. In reality, it was about 3 steps up from a glorified broom cupboard. Bare walls, a scattering of cardboard boxes, a desk that wobbled if you looked at it funny. But it had a wide window with a view of the Chicago skyline, all twinkly and smug in the snow. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel trapped, just broke, cold, and surrounded by IKEA furniture. Progress. Elizabeth's photo sat on a shelf, steadying me. She still smiled as if I hadn't just lived through a family soap opera so sordid even EastEnders were rejected it for being too much. The house was gone, sold to a young family with optimism, Pinterest boards, and no idea that the place came with a spiritual residue of betrayal baked into the bricks. They'd fill it with new memories. Good for them. I walked away with enough money to start again. Call it poetic, call it pathetic. Either way, it paid the rent. Michael and Emily, they vanished, packed up the designer tap before the eviction deadline, and disappeared into the ether. Bridges don't just burn. Sometimes they're nuked clean off the map. At my desk, a lamp glowing, I picked up a pen. It felt heavier than it should. Not ink heavy, memory heavy, regret heavy. All the fun heavies, really. Michael, I wrote. My handwriting was steady, which was ironic given my heart wasn't. I've spent years wondering where I went wrong, what I could have done to keep you close. But you chose your path, and I had to choose mine. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I need to move on. This is goodbye. Short, sharp, brutal. The literary equivalent of tossing someone their jumper after a breakup and saying, you left this, don't come back. I folded it, slid it into an envelope, let my fingers linger. Forgiveness wasn't for them. It was for me, because lugging around their nonsense was heavier than the briefcase I used to crush them with. Snow fell thick outside, softening the skyline. Pretty, almost peaceful, almost. I crossed a window, saw my reflection faint in the glass. Not a broken man, not a saint, just someone still here, still standing, still stubborn enough to make a new start, whether the world liked it or not. A box by the door held a few relics. Elizabeth's scarf, a 6-year-old Michael's crayon masterpiece, back when his biggest crime was drawing a dog with purple legs, an old engineering contract, pieces of a life worth remembering. I'd unpack them when the ghost stopped rattling so loudly. For now, the quiet was enough. The chaos of that Christmas was already fading, like a story I'd overheard rather than lived. Funny how betrayal becomes background noise once you survived it. I slipped the letter into my coat pocket. Might post it, might not. Maybe Michael would read it. Maybe he'd bin it. Didn't matter. Saying it was for me, not him, The lamp flickered. The snow kept falling. The city kept breathing. I grabbed my coat, the envelope crinkling, and stepped out. The apartment door clicked shut behind me. Soft but final. The hallway was empty. The lift dinged. My boots left wet prints on the floor. Outside, the snow would cover them soon enough, erasing the old paths. And that was fine. I had new ones to walk. If you like this tragic comedy of errors, do the usual, like subscribe, comment your disbelief at my son's idiocy. And if you want more of this delightful chaos, click the box on the left. Thanks for watching.